Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip,
And I'm CJ.
and it is Monday in a Riv after a weekend, and we had a homicide. Uh,
That was this morning.
no, well, in the I guess
Wee hours of the morning.
3 hours of the morning. So over the weekend and into the so theoretically we began the week with a homicide. So it's stabbing. There weren't a lot of details yet. But again, but not a peep from or transparency about anything as per usual. But I did. I read the flush. Now you quoting Lao Tzu. Wow, the Tao Te Ching. Uh, which is one of my favorites. Tao Te Ching is Lao Tzu's The Way of Life. And I know you put your little quotes in here. And I'll give you a little additional quotes. Knowing, because it segues into yours. Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power. So that's one of my favorites. And also, uh, he's got so many of them because Eastern philosophy is really, really on target. And this is part of one you did. The truth is not always beautiful, nor beautiful words. The truth. Boy, you can talk about politics. That's about politics. But this is one of my favorites. The man with outward courage dares to die. The man with inner courage dares to live. So we're daring to live. Hey, Jimmy. I came home. I was out doing some errands and stuff today earlier, and I came back and I saw something hanging on my door, and this was on my door. He stopped by, and he even wrote a little note on the back. Um, Sorry, missed you and stuff, and he actually knew who I was and probably looked it up, but. Uh, I read this.
But he took the time to come out and try
Exactly,
to meet with the constituents.
exactly, and I'm reading this, and I'm not a big fan of these things,
Right.
but at least I like this one. It's well put together. He talks about his family, talks about his wife and his kids, and how he cares about Fall River. Then his experience, he's a lifelong resident. He's worked 15 years in business analytics. So if he gets into city government, his head will probably explode. So number one, that's almost diametrically opposed to the way they run it, city governments and government in general. He has a master's in business analytics, a bachelor's in political science. He is an Eagle Scout, a community volunteer, parishioner. Formerly Notre Dame, Holy Name Church, and his priorities: smarter spending, protecting taxpayers' hard-earned money, and continuing to find ways to ease the burden on the residents. Well said. Stronger services, strengthening public safety, improving streets and sidewalks, and maintaining neighborhoods, which Paul never does. You've got a bullet hole in your house. Don't worry about it. Not everybody's got a bullet hole. We'll start maintaining the neighborhoods when everybody's got a bullet hole or a stab wound or a bullet hole in themselves. Economic growth to support businesses and create jobs. That's the open government. This is ensure transparency and accountability on every dollar. So I mean, he sounds. I mean,
Sounds right.
he's putting forth the plan. He's putting forth the plan. I'd like to speak to him. Hopefully, if he stops by again and if he's watching, or any of his fans, David, hello, um, any of his supporters, you can tell him he can feel free to contact me. I would like to have. I always like to have conversations with candidates and drill down a little deeper. But he's got the uh, he seems to have the right perspective. He's fundamentally saying our government isn't transparent, which is really an understatement. Uh, he he wants to have a transparent government. But like I said, he took the time to walk in, to come and attempt to speak to me. Unfortunately, I wasn't home. I wish I was. But uh, like I said, I'm not a big fan of those door hangers and push cards and stuff like that. But he kind of made a little synopsis of stuff with his priorities, experience, and his background, and lifelong Fall River resident. He's got, obviously, if he's in business analytics, when you look at the way they do the budget, I would be glad to show you my evaluation when I was on the financial transition team, which blew it up, and it has no bearing or fact in any similarity between any actual business sense and the way this government is run is purely coincidental. So, but this is the problem, and the campaign season is on. This is actually the first non-incumbent candidate that has even reached out to us on the show or reached out to us personally. I commend him on that, and let's hope some other candidates contact us. We'd be glad to have Michael on the show, if and or anybody else that's running for political office on the show. So but again, we see this veil of lack of transparency throughout the city, no matter what happens. I mean, I'm even surprised they talked about the stabbing. Um, they do have according to what I've been told, allegedly, they do have the individual who committed the crime. So, but as with everything in here, everything's kind of like tamped down, pushed to the back, not talked about. Let's try to keep it on the down low. And listen, I don't expect specifics from people. I don't expect the police department to tell me about how they're conducting the investigation, blah blah blah. But it would be nice to have. Remember the old days when they actually had like press conferences with the mayor? Remember the time, I think when Sutter was running, he showed the press conference he had with Flanagan, and he was the DA, and they were talking about how they were addressing crime in the city of Fall River. Wasn't that refreshing? They're actually trying to assuage the fear in the people by telling them we're on this, we're doing something about it. Let's not just, what are they doing? Are they doing anything? Just deplorable leadership by our mayor on every front. School committee suppresses free speech. They don't want to know anything. I don't want to know the numbers. Well, you're supposed to know the numbers. You're actually being malfeasant by not knowing numbers. So all these things are there. It's just. I mean, the city is just. It's just one big ball of corrupt government with lack of accountability everywhere, zero transparency, and the victims are the taxpayers. And with that, CJ, back to you.
That's nothing new. This is Fall River at its best. No question about it. Um, I will say one thing. I got a lot of feedback from this weekend's flush. I was going to subtitle it The Amaral Report, but I decided against it. And a lot of people turned around and said, you know what? Divorces are dirty. I said, yeah, they're like politics. I said, but this is Fall River politics. Nothing is off limits. I said, and think about this. If I can find out this information, Who else can find it?
Everybody.
Doesn't take a lot of work to get the information. I picked up the phone. I asked one person. They brought it up on the computer. They showed me where it was. I went and got it. And I read it for myself. I looked at the OCPF reports today. Amazing. I've got to give Gabriel Amaral a round of applause. He actually put information into his report. I also noticed he gave himself $5,000. Can't pay his wife. Allegedly can't pay his wife. Allegedly can't pay his mother-in-law. But he can take $5,000 out of his pocket and put it into his campaign. Now, I had a conversation with a former Gabriel Amaral supporter today who turned around and said, until you told me about that OCPF report, I would have never checked it. But I started checking it. And now there's all these lawsuits about finances. He can't pay people, but he can give himself $5,000 for his campaign. And then somebody else turned around and says, allegedly, he needs this job. He has to be mayor. He doesn't have an income. I don't know that. There's a lot of people run for office. I think Jazel ran because he needed the income. But Jazel had a plan. Jazel made it clear to people. And to top it all off, I received a message today from one of the plaintiffs in these lawsuits to ask me where I got my information from. And I told them. I said, anyone can get it. I said, am I wrong? As Charlie Kirk used to say, prove me wrong. And I was told, well, no, you're not wrong. I said, well, then I guess we're all set. Okay, so every single time Gabriel Amaral comes out and says, nice try, CJ and Mike, I had nothing to do with the articles. Nothing to do with the articles. Except the ones I write. And next time you decide to call me a liar, prove me wrong, asshole. Get a thick skin. You're in politics now. This isn't a game for babies. This isn't third grade bullies. This is politics. And in Fall River, politics is a war sport. They go for blood. And they don't stop until they see it flowing freely. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chip. Fall River politics.
Yeah, well, politics is referred to as warfare without bloodshed. But actually, there have been circumstances where it has resulted in bloodshed, unfortunately, or attempted bloodshed.
I'm not saying that Coogan is a better candidate. I think we've got a bad choice no matter who we vote for.
Well,
and as I've said to other people today, sometimes better the devil you know.
Well, everybody's going to have to make a decision, and I really think that. Listen, Boomer, I think should be more focusing on what he's going to do for the city, what he's going to do for the people, and if he focuses on always responding, that's what they want. Everybody wants you to deflect. The difference is that he's a neophyte in politics, and he doesn't understand that Coogan's not going to say anything. Coogan's going to let his minions, like the Herald News, um, and come out with an article that's really skewed against him, and other people will be posting it everywhere and talking about it everywhere, and they're going to be leaking all kinds of things. It's part of the game. Uh, you can do whatever you want. He can do whatever he wants. If I was him, I would focus on bringing to the people what you're going to do, telling the people why they should elect you, and you know, just dismiss that for what it is. It's part of politics. Divorces are ugly, uh, and there's a lot of acrimony during most divorces. Not all, but most. And a lot of things are said uh, intentionally to damage the other person, but that's got nothing to do with politics. If you can be divorced, or you can be married, or you can be single, I don't care. I want
You know
I
what's
want
interesting? You
I
know what's
want to know
interesting?
what you're going to do for the city of Fall River, how you're going to do it, and I think you should be focusing on that, because what they're doing is they're they're doing what they do in guerrilla war. They're pestering you with little tiny. They're not going to take you head on, because they have. You're not going to take them head on either, because you don't have the forces, you don't have the money, you don't have the. Coogan's got a lot of money, a lot of financial backing. So, but he's going to do. They're going to do a guerrilla war, clandestine guerrilla war. They're going to keep having these little brush fires about you personally, to keep you away from bringing a message to the people. That's the way I look at it.
You know what's interesting? His divorce, they were very amicable. It was a complete business deal. You get this, you get this. You're both great parents. Da 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 da. No problems. Not what you're hearing now. Not what you're hearing now.
Yeah, but that's really irrelevant to the election.
Right, it is. But
It's
that's the
really
whole point.
irrelevant. It's really
That's the whole
irrelevant
point.
to this election.
Instead of addressing the issues as you said, okay, high taxes, a egregiously high budget,
Yeah,
egregiously high pay raises.
but the fact that we're talking about it shows that they are getting what they really want, rather than focusing on the issues. But in our defense, we don't get any of these people on here to talk
Right,
about what they want to do. So it's
exactly.
not our fault. We've always had an open, we have an open invitation. You and I have been hosting this show for a very long time. We agree on most things, but some things we don't. I don't agree that. I look at Paul Coogan has demonstrated to me that he is the most. Uh, he is the worst mayor we've ever had. Not only is the worst mayor, he's egregiously despicable. He doesn't give a damn about anybody except his rich friends. He doesn't care what happens in his city. He just tamps everything down, puts doesn't answer any questions, and he's got an entire mafia along with him in the city council and the school committee majorities that allow him to be nothing more than a tyrant, and that's what he is. So, stifling free speech. I could never, ever in a million years vote for the Paul Coogan that has exposed his true self in the last 6 years. So with that, that leaves me two opportunities. I have never ever not voted for a mayoral candidate, and I virtually have never not voted. I mean, unless some idiot that I couldn't stand, like in this state, when I see Democratic candidates running unopposed, I just leave it blank, because, or write Donald Duck in or something. But there's no possible way. But I'm faced with the prospect of what I've always done, which is vote for the lesser of two evils. And I will have to make that decision over the next, between now and November, and uh, it will be up to Boomer to convince me that um, to get a vote. Otherwise, but Paul will never get a vote from me, ever, ever. I don't care if he runs for dog catcher. He has revealed the kind of person he truly is with his cavalier attitude about people. Shut up, Josh. You got a bullet hole in your house? I don't care. Not everybody's got a bullet hole in his house. Oh, you don't like what I say? Go jump in the Taunton River. Oh, you don't get to speak. You don't own a house. Why should you talk about affordable housing? You don't own a house. Well, in order to be in Paul's world, you either have to be looking for a favor and support him blindly, or you have to be a rich guy that he's taken care of, and thereby you take care of him. This is the way he is shown he truly is a Democratic politician. And I think that, at one time I had, we got along. As a matter of fact, at one of the debates, he talked about, oh, we've known each other for a long time. I have absolutely no use for him anymore. I think he's a despicable human being, and he can think anything he wants about me because, as Lao Tzu said, since you wanted to quote the Tao Te Ching, he said, when you are happy with yourself, the words of other people can't hurt you if you are one with yourself. So, and I'm paraphrasing, but I don't care what anybody thinks of me. I pay my own bills. I always have paid my own bills. I took a test for the job, and every promotion I got, nobody gave it to me. Everybody, I made sure my kids didn't go to work for the government. They got they got a good education, and they didn't have to ask anybody or beg anybody for a job or say they'll hold a sign for anybody, and they can tell them to pick a finger too. And this is the problem. This election's really bothering me because I think this is the worst mayor we've ever had. This city is on the precipice of a total disaster financially, and nobody seems to give a damn. This is really bothering me. You don't hear a peep from any of these people. Nothing. To his credit, Michael Canuel came to my door today. I wasn't here, but I have been here when people walked in my driveway, and sometimes they regretted coming here. Other times they didn't, but we had a lengthy conversation. Yeah, he could be. Yeah, I don't. CJ's already said he'll defer to me, and I'm not gonna. That's not the way we run this show with these candidates now. When we had a debate, we had a real debate. We put on our regular debates. Those debates were held in auditoriums. We had a, we were not. The process was set up. We had our moderator. We picked a neutral moderator. We let the debate go wherever it went. It was a debate. But what we offered candidates, and we had Jazel on when we were still up at Beer Can College. We had Jazel on. Remember, we talked about things, and Jazel came on, and to his credit, we let him talk, and we asked him a couple of questions, and this is the way we hit. Nobody had
to let him get his plan out.
Yeah, nobody
get his message out.
Nobody has to be afraid of coming on this show, because what we're going to do is let them basically tell you guys and us who they are, what they stand for. Like I said, I'm looking at this card, and he's got some good stuff here, so we could expand on that stuff about transparency in government. Why does he feel that way? Does he feel? And I'm looking at every dollar in the city about about smarter spending, protecting the taxpayer. These are things you don't hear from the incumbents for the most part, with the exception of Michelle Dion and a few others occasionally on the city council, and Colin Dyers and Kevin Aguiar. Nobody gives a damn about the taxpayers' money, how they misspend it, how they misappropriate it. But let them come on. Let them come on. We're not gonna. It's not gonna be. We're trying to get a gotcha moment. We're gonna let if they come on. You guys can type questions in. We can ask them the questions, and we can do what we have to do, and let them get their point across. And we'll ask them maybe follow up question if they seem to cover something uh, not really in depth enough that we think it should be covered a little bit more. But no, this isn't a gotcha show. They're going to have, as long
In
as
the
they want.
history of this show, we have never had a gotcha moment. Not that I can ever remember.
No, we've called a lot of people out.
That's 16 years.
Yeah. I mean, it's not our style. We're here talking, we're here in front of a camera saying what we believe in, and disagreeing sometime and agreeing other times. But the fact is that we're telling you where we stand on issues. I told you I told you. I am. There's. I don't care if they have a glacier hits hell and they're playing a Bruins game in hell. That would happen before I would ever vote for Paul Coogan for anything. He has proven to me that he is the antithesis of a leader. Yeah, yeah. I don't know this guy. He's got some signs up and stuff. I like what he says on the thing, and I know he came to my house. I would have had a nice long conversation with him. If I could.
Probably would have been late for the show.
Might have been. Yeah, I've had a few. The only people that don't like to come in my yard on barred now from the Jehovah Witnesses. They haven't come to my house in years.
I didn't even think they go door to door anymore.
I don't think so, but they used to go door to door, and one of them came in my yard one day, and we got into a long religious debate. And by the time we got through, I mean, they left with their hair on fire because I posed them a question that they couldn't answer because everything they do, they refer to it to their thing. And I did it very simply, a logical question. And their heads exploded. And then I think they came one more time. Yeah. They came one more time, and it just so happened, it was fortunate, I still had a door between, when you walk in my side entrance, like the entry, like a little entryway in it. Then you go into the main section, but it was a separation, and there was a door separating that from the interior of the house and the door. And at the time, I had my two boxes, and I let my boxes out. I was taking them out, and they were right outside the doorway. I let them out of the kitchen, and they were outside in the hallway. And fortunately, that door was closed because the Jehovah's Witnesses just walked into my house. And my two boxes went nuts. I mean, and my female was 90 pounds. My male was like 95. They were monsters, and they were protecting the property. And they were jumping up like 4 feet in the air trying to go through the door because there was a window. There was a glass on the door. You could see into the entry. And they ran out of here like their butt was on fire. And but my dogs obeyed, so I just told them, just be quiet, sit down. And I went out and I yelled down, as they were running down my driveway. Listen, don't just walk into my house without somebody telling you to come in. I said, you're lucky the door was closed. You probably would have been lunch. So ever since then, they must have put me on the no-fly zone. I've never seen one again. Okay, you requested.
I don't ever remember receiving a request to be on the show.
Well, you are welcome, Boomer, to be on the show. If you want to set a time and a date that's convenient for you, just tell us what are on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So at any date, it's good for you. We have not had one candidate except one that said but that candidate is an incumbent. We've had a couple of incumbents that said he want to get on closer to the election, which is fine. But I mean, if we don't get anybody else, we could have somebody on more than once. But I'm telling you now on the air in front of people that if you want to be on the show, you just let me let me know when you want to be on, and you will be on the show. And I will guarantee you we're going to stay on politics.
And I'll tell you now. I said it before, and I'll say it again. I have no problem with stepping back and doing like I've done before, and just this. But don't say I've made false statements. Okay? Everything I have the documents to prove it. Then now, as Charlie Kirk says, prove me wrong.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Prove me wrong.
with
And
that
I'm
being
gonna tell
said,
you
we're
now,
already going in a place.
all I want to know about when you're on this show is that what your plan is, what you plan to do for Fall River, what you plan to do for the people of Fall River. That's
Listen,
what I want to know.
well, I'm going to tell you right now that because we're already in the weeds that I don't want to go to on the show. I want you to talk about what your plan is for Fall River, what you see for Fall River. These other issues, to me, they're really irrelevant. They are personal things, and I've always disliked when politicians try to mix personal behaviors with the ability of somebody to do a job. You're going through a divorce. There are many people who've been there, done that. There are people with all kinds of other things. But the fact is that if you want to address, that you will adjudicate that through the proper channel. I do not believe in mixing. I don't care if the guy is the most. I don't care if he's got a crappy personality. I don't care if I don't like the guys. He likes the Red Sox. I like the Yankees. You know, yeah, but there's a problem, Boomer. We don't do the show at 9:30 to 12:30. Can you get on between 5 and 6?
Yeah, because our show airs between 5 and 6 Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Yeah, we can't. I mean, it would be because unfortunately, as you got things to do, I have to deal with the healthcare. I'm the healthcare representative for the retirees, and we're just wrapping up the healthcare issue. I got the retirement board meetings. I've got things that I advocate for the actives and the things that I do during the day, and I have, obviously I have other things to do too, like actually maybe get to the gym 4 or 5 days a week too. That's the only way I maintain my sanity. Yeah, and that's you're right. I agree. It's out of your control. The courts will decide. And listen, even if they don't rule the way some people think they should rule, listen, Buddy Cianci restored Providence and he was convicted of something. But you have to be able to separate some of these things. If a person is asking to fix your plumbing, you don't worry about whether he's going through a divorce. Okay, you can do it.
No, you don't have to go anywhere. I mean,
No,
when you do it right from your home.
You can do it right from home.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll send you a link.
I'll send the email link to your campaign address. I'm not sure. But I'll send the link for this Friday, and we can go from there.
Yeah, well, I understand that. That's why I'm saying to me, it's an irrelevant. I mean, we're going where this is a deflection. Every time they politicians, when they've got nothing to run on, like Coogan's got no record to run on, they're going to deflect everything away from the fact that let's not look at my record. I've been here for 6 years. It's not like the guy had one term. He's had 3 terms. It's not like this guy has been transparent like he promised, because he hasn't. He's going to do everything he can to focus on everything else in everybody else's life and try to tell us nothing about anything. We don't have enough time now. We're more than halfway. Boomer, I want to give you as much time as you need. If you can come in on Friday, you will be in right at the beginning of the show, and you can do it sitting in your living room. Just click on the link. CJ runs the board. I don't mess around with this stuff. I just, I only run it when he was in the hospital. I had to run the board, and it was like it's it's too distracting to me to run to do that stuff, and then I want to block people like the guy who wanted to put a hammer and sickle up. That's not going to happen again because we're not having a hammer and sickle. I'm not. Nobody. We are not advocating communism. We are not advocating communism. CJ, I got to get off. This might be Boston's calling me. Okay.
Yep. Sorry about losing you there. I will send a link to you for Friday's show, and we'll have you on, and hopefully people get the answers they want. As people post questions, I'll be more than happy to put them on the screen. People like Annalise and Jeffrey always have a lot of questions to ask, so that's good to know. That's good to know.
All right. I'm back. I don't know where I am. I'm out in the. Oh, there I am. Okay, you can put me back in double shot here. It was Boston, but I was kind of puzzled that they called me this late. They want to have a survey because I went up. Yeah, I went up there a week or so ago. They want to do a survey, but I don't. Obviously, I'm going to answer the call. But no, Boomer, if you can. Yeah, well, that's good. You'll have the entire show. We'll go as long as you feel you need to go and get out what you need to get out. And I think that this is what we need. I think this is a great example. Well, not for our people, because the people that watch our show know that we're about data and we're about doing the job. And it's a deflection. Coogan's going to deflect, make this election about everything except Paul Coogan and his 6 years of basically destroying the city and not upholding anything. And like I said, I know that full well. I was a friend at one time, well, at least an acquaintance. But he put me on his finance committee. I wrote him a letter that broke down all the problems in the city. And then 6 years later, they're out of money. And I predicted that 6 years ago. I've been doing this stuff for 40 years. I know the healthcare. I know where all the money's flying out the windows. And when I did that, they never had another finance committee meeting. They just said, screw it. We're just going to keep going the way we're going and make it worse. And that's exactly what they did. They can't plead ignorance that they got themselves in this pickle, because I have the letter and I'd be glad to let you have a copy of it. I gave the councilors numerous copies of it where I broke everything down, the retirement system, why it tanked, the collective bargaining agreements, which they took gas on and they owe zillions and they can't fund them. And of course the healthcare system, which I said they'd never be able to pay their share, and they can't. So, but I mean, this is the thing. They don't want to talk about these things. They don't want. The last thing Paul Coogan wants is to somebody put a microscope on his tenure as mayor. Anytime he wants. He knows where we are. He knows he knows. He used to call us virtually after every show, right, CJ?
Yeah.
And complain. Now he stopped. He gave up because now he can't, because now we've got everything on him. It's a fact. It's a fact. Is he going to say that I didn't write the letter? Did he say he didn't get it or didn't read it? Is he going to say that these documents with the $4.2 million that we spent on HVAC and we still got mold and the other guy got a $96,000 a year job? Is he gonna say that I didn't write this letter where it says, and I'll put it up so you can read it, that one section. Maybe you can, maybe you can't, but this is the letter I wrote. Let's see. Can you get the top line? Yeah, there you go. On the long term, major changes that can spike medical or drug costs that are highly probable will find the city financially unable to pay its share of the cost of the health care. And we are $2 million in the hole this year. This letter was written 6 years ago. 6 years ago. And this is who I wrote it to. Joan Medeiros, the chairman of the Financial Committee. So he can bullshit a lot of people, but he's not going to bullshit us because these are facts. He hasn't been transparent about Malone. He hasn't been anything. All his campaign promises I got right here because I got his draft of what he was going to do when he took office, before he took office, okay? Transparency and all the other horse manure that he slung. So if he wants to come on a show, what is he going to say? Is he going to say they're not $2 million in the hole? No, he's going to say, I don't know anything about numbers. Is he going to say they're not $3 million in the hole for trash? No, he's not going to say that either because we are $3 million in the hole. What is he going to say again? I don't know anything about numbers. Well, I'm a vice principal. No, you're not. You're a man. You've been a mayor for 6 years. But you don't know anything. I'll agree with that. So this is the problem. If he wants to come on, he knows how to find us. Because they watch us all the time. There's always at least 1 or 2 computers at Government Center logged into this show. Well, that's true. There isn't any proof he knows how to read. Yeah, right. You're right. Okay. You got me. You got me. He doesn't know numbers. Maybe he doesn't know how to read either. And you know, the sad part about it is we're laughing to keep from crying because the city is in the toilet because of total mismanagement for 6 years. It's going to be virtually impossible. It's going to take a long time to dig us out of the hole, and it's going to take some serious adjustments in the way we do business. And this is the key. The key is that, and the problem is that they were warned. They were told. They even said it. We're $2 million in a hole. We know we did it wrong. That's why we're in a hole. Well, you've been doing it wrong for 6 years. You're still doing it wrong. I mean, you got the blind leading the blind. And the problem is, who are the victims? The victims are the taxpayers of the city of Fall River. You know, we got crappy streets. I tell you guys, you know, if you guys don't live in the East End, just come up and go east on Pleasant, take a left at Eastern Avenue and go head north. And when you drive between Pleasant and the Rolling Rock, it's like you're in Fallujah. You can't go 2 feet without your tire hitting some depression, pothole that's filled, and it's a mess. It's a mess. And then there are a lot of other streets. Go up Oak Grove Avenue. They just paved it, and it's a wreck already. I know that Josh calls all the time to the radio station and complains about this stuff. This is what we got. This is the result of 6 years of zero accountability and no action for the betterment of the city of the people of Fall River. $87 million in opera money urinated into down a sewer without doing one thing that's constructive for the people of Fall River. Are his fancy lights on Duval Street going to help you? No. Are the fancy benches when we were going to get them for free from the state? But no, let's give him $7 million and make fancy lights for his pals. This is the problem. As this city council candidate said, protecting the taxpayers' hard-earned money to ease their burden. And if I remember correctly, that's right. And stick together. You're right, Ray. You got to get out there. And if I remember correctly, in his first term, he said he was going to give us a tax break. Right, CJ?
That's right.
Then he said that again in his second term.
According to him,
yep,
he used ARPA funds to offset some of our property taxes.
That's a lie.
I don't remember seeing it.
I want to see the numbers.
Well, that's what I say.
They won't tell us what we're paying for Durfee.
Right.
Why didn't he offset the Durfee debt with it? Why didn't he offset the Durfee debt?
That's how patronage jobs work, Ray.
Yeah.
Lots of jobs, do nothing.
That's it. You know, that's it.
Boomer, I sent you the link to Friday's show.
Did you get it?
See you Friday at 5.
Did you get it, Link? Did you get it, Boomer? Let's confirm it on the air so we know. Please.
So have my taxes increased. Chip, did you get a tax decrease?
No. No. I haven't had. Okay. Please. Oh, God. A tax, you know, all I know is I'm paying my water bill shortly. That's gone up. I remember when I used to pay like half. But then again, we're going to pay for water even if we don't use it. Remember that fiasco in front of the council?
Oh, yes, I remember that. We've heard that more than once.
No, you're right, Linda. That's Linda's. It should be eliminating unnecessary positions. I'm sorry. I mean, I understand that these people start like they do in Washington, crying because they got good paying jobs, but they don't really do anything. You know, you go in there now and you look at City Hall and, okay, thank you, Bruma. Okay, good. Looking forward to seeing you on Friday.
So do I.
You know, you go in there, they don't even have to collect the bills anymore. They go to Bay Coast. A lot of people go to Bay Coast. But you got
still running a full city collectors department.
You got people in there, and you got a whole bunch of other people. And you know, look at Coogan's reorganizations. He in his school department. He had 3 different, I think, reorganizations in the school department.
Look at his reorganization in the city.
All of which resulted in more supervisors being hired at big salaries to supervise the same amount of people that were initially supervised. So you got to be a supervisor, and you supervised 1/4 of the people that the old supervisor used to do, and you got a pay raise. Listen, you got to tighten your belt. I mean, it's like, look, you and I and everybody here, we're real people. We're not the government. I can't go to my neighbor and say, hey, I'm raising your neighbor fee because you got to pay me for being my neighbor, for the privilege of being my neighbor. You got to give me money anytime I want. So I'm going to go do anything I want with it, but you got to give me money. And that's what the government's basically telling you. Every one of us has to say, I can't go on vacation this year. I need a roof. It's going to cost me $15,000 to do a roof, maybe, or maybe more, or maybe less. Maybe I could get a better deal, but it's going to cost a ton of money. I can't afford that. I can't afford to do certain things. I'm going to have to tighten my belt. You know, I can't have, filet mignon at every meal and lobster. Not that I do, but I wish I could. But because it's two of my favorites. But the reality is, we have to live in a real world. And as Ronald Reagan once said, one of the best quotes I ever heard. He said, "Government spends like a drunken sailor, but the difference is a drunken sailor spends his own money. The government doesn't." And he's right. This is the problem. Paul Coogan spends our tax dollars giving out $600,000 worth of pay raises when he knows the city's broke in this budget, and it got approved by the council. Remember that. He's not
That's
alone.
right. That's
He's not
right.
alone in this. But you and I can't do that. You run out of money, you're out of money. Yeah, Ray. Yeah, that's right. We're going to have the neighbor tax. Okay. As long as he gets a cut, I guess that's true. Yeah, I wouldn't put anything past him. But we live in a real world. I mean, when you spend all your money and you go to the grocery store, you can't tell the guy at the grocery store, "Well, I got $300 worth of groceries, but I don't have any money because I spent it all. But maybe I'm going to hit a scratch ticket, or maybe my neighbor's going to give me a loan. I don't know, but I can't pay." They're going to say, "Get out of here, leave this stuff here." Can't do it. Your house needs a roof. Your car needs fixing. We got to deal with this stuff every day. Paul Coogan doesn't have to deal with this thing. He's going to be a million. He gets another term. He's going to be virtually a million. He's going to make nearly $1 million in salary. Yeah, the Mr. Rogers. Yeah, okay, Scott, the good one. Mr. Rogers. Yeah, welcome to the neighborhood. Yeah, and
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Give me $10.
It's
Give me $10.
crazy. But that's why we like. That's why we really love our fans, because you guys pay attention. Yeah, I might be slightly too soon. I don't know, but that's not a bad one. I'm glad you got a sense of humor. But this is the thing. Look, we're all real people that have real bills and have to live. And all I know is, ever since Coogan's got in, I haven't gotten a break in anything. Nothing. Patrick, you're down in
Tuscaloosa,
Alabama. They're going to be watching to see if you try to put in a mail-in ballot. I can guarantee you that. But yeah, we're all regular people. We have to pay bills, and it's a shame when we got a mayor that doesn't care. By his own definition, he wants new people in Fall River. The people in Fall River can't afford these rents. Tough shit. Leave. We're going to get new people. No, we're not. We're not getting new people. We're getting people from the War College. We're getting illegals put into these things. We're not getting somebody from Newton's going to move down to Fall River, move down here and get stabbed while I walk into Speedway or something like that, right? There we go. Paul Coogan, brutally high rents, great for your family. That's it. Beautiful. But
nobody can say we're not equal opportunity.
Yeah, but the thing is, like I said, right from the get-go, he was shameless about it. My banker friends, my developer friends, my lawyer friends, all my rich friends, and all the other friends that not rich yet, I'm going to give them a job and make them rich. I'm going to give them a nice pension system. I'm going to give them a nice high-paying job, and then these guys disappear in the woodwork. Remember how many mayors ago that Faust Fiore got a nice job, and then the mayor got bounced, but he's still around somewhere hiding. They hide him.
Minimum housing.
They just stick them in different corners in the city hall. If you ever walked into City Hall and doged it, you'd probably see like 200 people that we don't even know were working for the city run out the building, because this is what they do. This is what they do, because they're not paying the bills. We are. And we need a mayor and a city council and a school committee that remembers that. That's why you're right. You're right, Ray. We got to get out to the polls. You got to get all your friends out there. Drag them, kick them, and scream 'em, and tell them you got to save the city. We got to get rid of some of these clowns, because this is what we got right here. You got Mutt and Jeff. Whoop, whoop. Yeah, yeah, Paul. Yep, Paul. Yep, Paul. Okay, I'll meet you for corned beef and cabbage after the meeting. See you later. This is what you got. You got Tammany Hall here.
That's
And
it.
but hey, I think we had a lot of fun today.
Yes, we have. And I want to thank you all for watching, and thank you, Gabe, for coming on the show on Friday. We look forward to seeing you. And remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Wednesday. Have a great day. And yeah, you're right. Chow mein.
Oh, man, there you go. Strained.
Always something.